Every single time I say I'm going to come up here and just do a message real quick, sometime it ends up being a little longer than I had planned. So just bear with me. Greetings to my Urban Diary ladies and gentlemen. Greetings. Once again, the subject at hand is forgiveness. And baby, whoo. So now that I have managed to overcome a hurdle when it comes to forgiveness, I have to allow myself grace when it comes to repeated forgiving. Let me tell you what I mean by that. On this road to recovery, I felt like, and I don't know why, because no one put this restriction on me, but I was under the impression, and I felt like that I can forgive just one good time. Like I had to just take a deep breath, take everything into account, and just forgive one good time, and I'll be fine. I'll be able to move forward. But baby, let me tell you what else I'm learning about forgiveness. That sometimes the fucking the shit that the person has done to you puts you in such a space that when it comes to the bottom of this shit, you find yourself having to forgive more than once. So don't put that type of restriction on yourself to forgive one time, or thinking that's the only way to forgive someone is that, you just gotta be sincere one good time. No, baby, I'm learning that forgiveness, because sometimes when you see other things, and this is when you go back in retrospect, or sometimes the lessons can't hit you all at once, so you can be in a perfectly fine space doing your thing, and all of a sudden you'll get an epiphany, or you'll get divine intervention, and you'll get a message that something else was going on, and you'll have to forgive the person for that. Or even if you're having a motherfucking day and needed, the lesson for whatever reason hasn't quite dispersed into the past. Maybe it's because you need a reminding of it for one reason or the other. You find yourself having to forgive that person again for the same transgression. And I had to come to terms within myself to say, if you gotta forgive the motherfucker more than once, it's fine. It's okay. You do what you need to do in the healthiest manner possible to be able to move forward. Sometimes, right? Sometimes you have to repeatedly forgive yourself, because in going back into retrospect and learning new lessons and relearning old lessons, or trying to get a better understanding, or the lesson hasn't hit you yet, it wasn't time, it was too much, so now there's a designated time for you to get the lesson. Sometimes the lesson is for you to forgive yourself for looking over or looking past in the name of love, looking past what the fuck they did or were doing, looking past their transgressions, looking over who they were actually showing you that they were, all in the name of love. You gotta forgive yourself for whatever the reason or excuses that you have given yourself to get through that time, to get past that hurt, whatever it is that you had to tell yourself to be able to move forward in that way. It could have been an illusion, it could have been a delusion, whatever it is that you needed to do, you've done it, but now you need to be able to forgive yourself. So forgiveness isn't a one-time offer. It isn't a final deal, you know. And this message is for anyone who have experienced what I've experienced. And maybe you haven't, and if you haven't, that is absolutely great. I wish this channel was more interactive, because I wish someone had fucking told me that it is okay to forgive over and over a fucking again, until you are in a space where the lesson, no matter if you agreed or disagree, is understood, and you can declare to yourself, pledge allegiance to yourself, that the lesson will not be repeated. You know what I'm saying? Because I used to have this saying that, you know, the lesson is bound to be repeated until it is learned. And in my spirituality, well, you know, my thought process changes a lot, because I learn more and more all the time. And at one time I thought that, well, lessons are cycles, right? They're cycles. And so life cycle, or well, you can, they either are they coincide, or either they are the same, they mean the same thing. But lessons, like cycles, are going to be repeated until you learn them. Once you learn them, you can break that cycle. And I was under the impression through the early journeys of my spirituality that the lessons would be what you constantly go through with the same person, because people aren't perfect, and you know, everyone has their own journey and everyone has their own experiences. And so I was under the impression that these are cycles that you will go through with your tribe in order to get order in the house, so to speak, right? But lo and fucking behold, that the lessons do not necessarily come through your tribe. They don't necessarily come through the same person. Lessons can be repeated through different people and at different times. The same way a psychologist or psychiatrist or a doctor of the mind, right? The same way they can ask you the same question 4 or 5 different ways, and depending on how you answer determines the outcome of your mentality, right? It is very, very, very similar to that. You will learn a lesson, or it is possible. Let me not put it out there like it is definite, because it is not. But I'm just offering you an alternative view. You can be offered a lesson, the same lesson, through different people and or through different times, because you either forgot or you haven't learned the first time. So this journey of healing is just that. It's a fucking journey. We are going on a motherfucking camping trip. You know what I'm saying? It is so much to learn about yourself on every level. And I feel that while you're learning, it is definitely okay to experience some of these lessons with someone. It's okay to have someone, you know, to have some fun with sometime, you know, for me, you know. But I cannot.
Police reported ahead. Let's just mind our business.
I cannot allow people that I choose to have fun with when I want to have fun with them. I can't allow them to become distractions. I can't allow them to be I can't allow them to put me in a space where I am so entertained or intrigued by what's going on in front of me at the time, and what I am. And mind you, we have to practice mindfulness too. So when we are in that moment, enjoy that moment, enjoy that time. But it should not become a distraction in your spiritual growth, your spiritual development, who you are becoming at any time in your life. And I believe that's one of my lessons also, that I need to get a better understanding of how to separate life lessons and cycles from momentary gratification, spiritual awareness, mindfulness. Like, all of these are lessons that I'm learning, but I don't want to get too far off track, because the main purpose of me doing this video is just to remind you to have grace with wherever you are in your healing process, and understand that as you continue to go along, and you may or may not discover new things or old things, or get new information pertaining to what you're healing from, to have grace with yourself. If you need to forgive again, forgiving isn't a one-time thing when it comes to your elevation. Forgiving isn't a one-time offer or deal when it comes to your healing. All right? Don't feel that way. Don't feel like, and don't even get in a mind state that you have to prove anything to yourself, because it is okay to be vulnerable. That's okay too. It's okay to be vulnerable with yourself, or with someone you trust, or with higher source. It is okay to be in that type of space, to allow yourself to feel whatever it is, whether it's good or bad. Because I too got in that space of saying, I don't want to hurt. And so for me not to hurt, I have to push myself through this pain. And then I configure to myself, okay, you know what? I got to sit in this pain for a minute in order to become immune to it. So I got to sit here and I got to dissect this shit, and I got to fucking figure out why it keeps hurting so much, So I got to sit here for a minute, and I'm gangster enough to do that shit. Fuck that. I don't like pain, but in order for me to become immune to it, so it can stop hurting me, I got to sit here for a minute. And I did that, and I sat there, and I got fucking stuck. And sitting in that pain started making me become bitter, right? And mean, and I had to get my way up out of that shit. And so I don't know who necessarily may need this understanding, but allow yourself all the time you need. Remember, it's okay to be vulnerable, and vulnerability does not mean that you're not gangster. It doesn't mean that you're not strong. It doesn't mean that you can't handle it. Vulnerability means you are handling it. You are taking care of it. Vulnerability is a part of self-care, especially when you can be vulnerable with yourself. Okay? That is a part of self-care. Acknowledging what you feel and feeling it. Excuse me. I got somebody all in my motherfucking car seat. Car window, looking all through my fucking window. But anyway, I'm gonna go, because I am on my way to the money, baby. And I felt like it was important for me to put this video up and just to, explain to you what I have been experiencing and to remind you that it is okay. Now, I hate to sound cliche, but that is also the truth of the matter. It is okay. You're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. We have to keep going. We gotta keep going.